A very good morning to Ms. Lulu and my fellow friends. And today I'll be presenting my assignment entitled Manipulation in Media Headlines, Effect on Reader Interpretation, Engagement and Ethical Perception. So I will start with the introduction. Okay, so basically in my report, I've chosen two articles, which is the first one, Malaysia record 24.5 million visitors in first 7 months of 2025 by New Straits Times, and the second article, which is Budi 95 says nearly 3 million users sales exceed RM 91 million in 4 days underscore Amir Hamzah by Bernama 2025, which is both of these headlines depicts accomplishment of at the national level, but they actually differ in the grammatical structure, which leads to different emotional and persuasive appeal. So to answer the research question, which is what ways does syntactic manipulation in Malaysian headlines affect readers' interpretation, engagement, and ethical perception, I have implemented two main theories, which is the first one, systemic functional grammar (SFG) and generative grammar. So that's all for the introduction. All right. So moving on to the next part, which is theoretical foundation. I will see here in my laptop. All right. So uh, under my theoretical foundation, which is under content, language structure or syntax connect grammar to the meaning. So in this analysis, I have used two key grammar theories, which is the first one, GG, generative grammar. The second one is systemic functional grammar, which I have add another supporting theory, which is cognitive grammar and construction grammar to explain how syntax shapes meaning and emotion. All right, moving on to the first theories, which I will just summarize this. Okay, the theory that I have chosen, which is generative grammar that introduced by Noam Chomsky, 1957, it explains how humans have an inborn mental system called universal grammar, where this system allows people to form and understand sentences based on set of internal rules. So, in Chomsky theory, he separates language into two levels, which is the first one, deep structure, and another one is surface structure. So I will take one example based on my chosen headline, which is the first headline, Malaysia records 24.5 million visitors in first 7 months of 2025, where it actually comes from a deeper sentence like Malaysia has recorded 24.5 million visitors within the first 7 months of 2025, which the auxiliary word has is removed. This shortening is called ellipsis, which makes the sentence brief and direct, more to typical features of headlines. Alright, okay, we'll be moving on to the second theory, which is systemic functional grammar (SFG). This theory was developed by M.A.K. Halliday, which is he was see in another way, which is instead of seeing grammar as just a rule, systemic functional grammar sees it as a social tool, which is it actually been used to create a meaning, express relationship, and achieve a purpose. So according to Halliday, every sentence has three meta functions, which is ideational, interpersonal, textual. So this also I will take one headline to brief example, which is the first headline. Malaysia records 24.5 million visitors in first 7 months of 2025, which is the actor. Okay, in this headline, the meta function was that include here is I think ideational, which is the actor, which is the Malaysia, which is the doer of the action, the process, which is the records. Goal is 24.5 million visitors in the result of the action. Circumstance in first 7 months of 2025, which is basically the time frame. So this arrangement present Malaysia as an active and successful nation, which giving a positive and credible tone. That is the same for the second headline, but the difference is the second headline have the another extra, which is the attribution that we will figure out in the structural analysis. I'm sorry. All right, moving on to the second part, which is the comparative view. So this one also I will summarize them. So basically, GG and SFG both study about syntax, but they're actually focusing on different areas, which is GG, which is I just use a short form. It's GG for what do you call it? generative grammar. Okay, so generative grammar explain how sentences are structured correctly using a mental rules, and SFG explain why sentences are structured that way to achieve certain meaning. So one is how, another one is why. So in this report research, I did mention in introduction which I have another supporting theory, which is cognitive grammar and construction grammar. Okay, what is cognitive grammar? Cognitive grammar is a theory that links grammar to human thinking. For example, the word "see" in the headline "Budi95 sees nearly 3 million users" makes readers imagine the platform as an active and aware. Okay. As for the construction grammar, it explained that journalists often use a familiar pattern like X says Y over N to sound official and urgent. Alright, so in short, generative grammar focuses on the form, while systemic functional grammar focuses on the function. Okay, together they shows that syntax is both a mental process and a social tool for communication. Alright, so we have done with that. Okay, moving on to the part which is structural analysis, the most important part in this assignment. Alright, so this section basically examines both headline using two grammar theories to see how syntax influence tone and engagement. Okay, we will, this is the headline that I will use. Okay, we'll start with the systemic functional grammar. Okay, here. Alright, so according to the first headline, Malaysia records 24.5 million visitors in first 7 months of 2025. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 SFG analysis, which is actor, process, goal, and circumstance. Then you can see there the actor is Malaysia, what is the function, and the records the 24.5 million in first 7 months of 2025. Alright, so I will read the interpretation at least. Okay. The headline construct Malaysia as a capable and successful actor, followed by highlighting the national performance through measurable result. So the verb in the headline, which is record, refer as a material and functional, giving an impression of credibility and authority. Okay, to conclude, this headline arranged in linear structure, starting with actor, process, goal, and end with circumstance to demonstrate more clear, positive informational flow that engage readers by stressing national progress. So basically, they want to show Malaysia as a great country and independent, to show some positive vibes. Okay, alright. So moving on to the second headline, also the same way. The actor here is Budi, process is sees, goal is nearly 3 million users. So because the second headline, okay, I forgot to mention, the second headline here, we have two clause, which is the first one, Budi95 sees nearly 3 million users, and the second headline, the second clause, which is sales exceed around 91 millions in 4 days, attribution Amir Hamzah. Okay, so because of that, the SFG analysis also was divided into two, but I just put it here inside the same table, which is we have one actor, actor 2, we have process 1, process 2, we have goal 1, goal 2, we have the circumstance, and the last one we have the attribution. Okay, the difference with this between the and the first headline is this headline have the attribution, which is the Amir Hamzah. What is the function of the attribution? Is to add the credibility and authority to the information. Alright, so okay, I'm sorry. We'll be moving on to the second grammar analysis, which is generative grammar analysis. Alright, okay. In this grammar, both of my headline follow subject verb object, which is SVO. Even though words like has are omitted, the meaning still stay the same due to ellipsis. Okay, it is short, clear, and grammatically correct. Alright. Okay. As you can see here, I has draw the generative grammar analysis based on the framework of generative grammar. This is the first headline, and this is the second headline, which is the difference with this and this is the first headline only one clause. So that is the reason why it's simple. It has one sentence, NP and VP. Unlike the second headline, where it is a bit complicated because the first sentence and second sentence, but it, according to my explanation, it was close. Okay. In this headline, they have a clause complex, which is the coordination, because there are two clause in one headline, and it also have the attribution, which is Amir Hamzah. I will read the interpretation. Alright, the second headline is an illustration of coordination and causal compression. It is a coordinate structure made up of two independent clauses that's separated by a comma, which is the first one, Budi 95 sees nearly 3 million users, and the second clause, sales exceed 91 million in 4 days. The coordinating clause in this case are independent clause, and the justification of two clause without using a conjunction is a transformational rule of coordination reduction. Okay, I think that's all for the generative grammar analysis. Now we'll be moving to the comparative evaluation. Okay, so after examining both of these headlines using two lens, which is systemic functional grammar and generative grammar, both their lens. Okay, so after comparing both of these lens, both are actually useful, but they are actually focusing on the different thing. For example, generative grammar, it explains how headlines are grammatically possible even when it was shortened. It focuses on structure and mental rules. However, generative grammar does not explain the meaning or emotional effect. In the other hand, systemic functional grammar focuses on context, meaning, and reader's interpretation. Where this lens, it shows how headlines reflects ideology, tone, and relationship with readers. So, when combined, they actually give a full picture. GG shows how the structure works, and SFG shows why that structure influenced the audience. Alright, I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, so my explanatory power, I have summarized this, include the comparative evaluation. Okay, then we'll be moving on to the pedagogical implication. Okay, so in this part, for education, both theories offer a benefits. Generative grammar can help students to understand sentence rules and build accurate grammar. However, it can feel abstract for some learners. Systemic functional grammar, on the other hand, connects grammar with a real communication. So as a future teacher, we can use the real headlines to show how grammar creates a different tones or emotional effect. These methods can improve a critical reading and effective writing skill. After combining both of these theory, it can actually help learners not just grammatically correct, but also critical and creative language user to train them to be more creative and critical focus in writing or reading. Okay, we're moving on to the personal insight. Okay, after analyzing these headlines, I learned that grammar is not just about correctness. It also shapes how people think and feel. Okay, before this, I thought headlines were only short summaries. Now, after analyzing both of these headlines, I now understand that even a small grammatical choice can create a big differences in meaning and perception. For example, Malaysia records give a feeling of power and progress, while Budi 95 says give excitement and credibility. So now I can read news. For me, I can read news more critically and think about how sentence structure after reader emotion. Okay, as a future English teacher also, I will not only teach grammar as a rules, but also show how grammar express attitude, emotion, and purpose, which is this help me more aware and be more responsible as a reader and a language user. Alright, moving on to the last part, which is the conclusion. I'm sorry. Okay, so in conclusion, syntactic manipulation in media headline is a powerful tool that shapes how readers interpret and react to emotion. Headline use grammar not only to inform, but also to influence through tone and structure. Systemic functional grammar help us to understand grammar as tool for meaning, emotion, and persuasion, while generative grammar ensures accuracy and clarity. Together, they show that syntax operates on two levels, which is structural and social. Structural more to generative grammar, social more to systemic functional grammar. Alright, for teachers, combining both theories helps students learn grammar with understanding and purpose. For media writers, this awareness remind them to use syntax responsibly to inform truthfully without emotional manipulation. Alright, in short, Grammar is not just a rule system, it is a form of power and meaning that connects language with human thought, society, and ethics. I think that's all for my presentation. And here's my list of references. And there's supposed to be appendix here. And I think that's all for me. Thank you.